Welcome back, my viewer at Shiloh TV. Shiloh TV, we say it is gospel to the whole world. In the studio, we have the servant of God, Apostle Steve Kenyoru, whom God has used in a very dynamic way. And he has been sharing his story to us, how God performed a miracle when he went to the first college. And as we continue to listen to the story, as he continues to share, welcome back, my
Amen.
Visitor.
Thank you, sir.
Before we continue, you can tell us whether you are married or you are single and searching, because I can see you have a ring on your finger.
Yes.
And nowadays people put rings for many reasons. You're welcome.
Thank you. I thank God, just to summarize it, is that I'm married to one beautiful wife who is a miracle, and I call her an angel from the Lord. I got married in 2004. In April, and the date was amazingly 24th. So it was 2004, April 24th.
Wow.
And the card was written 10 in the morning, so there was something like that. And how I came to meet my wife is something very serious. So while I'm in college and I'm serving under Bishop Mwene, I felt an urge in me that there must be something bigger to me than this thing I'm doing in college. So I went to my spiritual father, Bishop Mwene, and asked him, now that I'm here, tell me what your plan is for me. And he was kind of shocked. What kind of a question is that? Why should I have a plan for you? But he was kind enough and he said, son, God revealed to me that you will be his servant. Wow. I said, God did that? Okay. So from there, I knew that if I have to be a servant of God, I have to be married. So I started to trust God for a wife. Believe you me, I prayed for the whole year.
Whole year?
A whole year for God to give me a wife. Mm-hmm. And I never needed a good wife. I needed the right woman, the right wife. So I lost 17 kg in the process of fasting, trusting God for a wife. God did not speak to me in any way, but he gave me a scripture that is in 1 Peter chapter number 3, verse 1 to 4. And he showed me a quality of a godly woman. I said, wow, if I will ever meet this kind of a woman anywhere, that she would be my wife. So I was still a young man, serving under Bishop Mwene, and by the grace of God, I was a youth chairman then. That is in 2003. I'm a youth chairman and I'm serving God. So one day we organized a retreat to Siani Roses in Jolo. So we went there as a team of young men, and something supernatural happened within that greenhouse. The lady who is now my wife turned to become like a flower in a fraction of a second.
In a vision?
In a vision, an open vision. She just turned and became like a rose flower. Papa. And then I said, what did I see? So I looked at her again. Immediately I was looking at her, that scripture came back. Wow, I knew God is telling me, this is the woman. This is the lady that will be your wife. And I said, wow, this is serious. And it was on an Easter Sunday, 2003. So, Easter Monday, I was still appointed to go and preach somewhere for AIC Church in a place called Baruti. So, on Tuesday, she works with an organization, a school. I went to her school because it was a holiday. I went straight to her office, and right outside our office, I found a rose flower.
Wow.
I looked around, it was only one. I brought that rose flower. I went straight to her office, I knocked. When I just entered, she was so shocked. What is my youth leader doing here? So I picked that flower, I gave it to her, and I told her, as far as I'm concerned by now, you are my wife. That is the only way, that's the only thing I did. I told her, you are my wife. She was shocked. She closed the door. She went in to cry. So I stayed there outside waiting for her to cry and finish and come back. When she came and said, please, can you go? I said, I have gone, but
I'll come back.
if God will tell you otherwise, please tell me. And don't let these things spread. So from there, it's all history. I was not employed. I'm a student who is serving under Bishop Mwen as a technician with no pay and as a youth leader. So she came one day and said, we need to talk. I said, well, that is how things went down. And I thank God that by the grace of God, we are now blessed with 2 kids. One is a girl, our Joyce Mayer, Kemma, and my second, he's not a second born, but he's a second born who is alive now. There is a story there I can relate. So my son, Prince Solomon, who is 8 years right now. I've hinted something here. There is a child that we got in September 2009. I'll never forget this because at one point I almost lost hope in ministry. My wife conceived. We went to the hospital. It was on September 15th, 2009. She was to deliver. She went into labor for 3 days. So they induced and they had to take her to theater. But unfortunately, we had already, by faith, named that son Rod Parsley, one of the men of God that I admire. So, while she gave birth through cesarean, I was able to see that child for 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
5 minutes, and the child died. I became so much discouraged, and I asked God a question. Why did you give us such a great hope and then you took the child? God had to take me back to when we got married on 24th. When we were in our first night in a honeymoon, I remember it was in a dream now, God taking me back. We were holding hands with my wife and we said these words. If God happens to give us a child, the second one has to wait for 7 years to come.
Wow.
So our firstborn,
So it was like a kind of a covenant?
we entered into a covenant. We didn't remember and we didn't understand the power of our words. So we entered into a covenant unknowingly. Unknowingly, we committed ourselves to something that we later regretted. But it gave us a lesson. So in that dream, God showed me how we said we don't need a child until 7 years are over. So my son, second born, was born before 7 years. That is the 3rd year after the firstborn. The firstborn was born in 2005, in January 23rd. And this one is being born 2009. It is not 7 years, 3 years or something. So I came to realize that we had entered into a covenant unknowingly. So that's why the child went. And God taught me about the power of words. That's why I thank God for the grace that operates in my life, that if I say something, somehow by the grace of God, it happens. So I now know the power that I carry through my tongue at a very high price of losing our son. But thank God, after 7 years were over, God gave us another son.
Wow.
So my daughter and my son, they are 7 years apart.
Wow.
One is 16 years now, 15 years, and the other is 8 years. So 7 years apart, as we said. So I really understand this dimension. So I'm married, sir,
Okay.
and I've given you more than you know
Yeah.
concerning that.
Wow. That is a very great and inspiring story, my viewer.
Yes.
You can listen that if you make a covenant, it can follow you in your
Yes.
life. When we come back, Apostle Steve will continue to share his story, and when we come back, he shall be sharing he shall be speaking about his calling in the ministry and how he has served God even to this hour.